What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham G.S. and Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network, on Peacock, and on Vice TV. Because today we're going to be talking about Season 1, Episode 1 of Tales from the Territories, called Memphis, Where Wrestling Was Real. So the show premiered, this episode premiered about 2 weeks ago. I missed the first one live. I didn't catch it until about a week later. Finally getting a chance to break it down and review it now, So I wasn't sure when I first started watching it, before I started watching it, if it was a show I would be doing weekly reviews for based on the format of it. Because I heard it was just stories, and that's what this is. It's a great show. It's very enjoyable, learning a lot of stuff I didn't know before. This will be a different style of review than what I normally do for Dark Side of the Ring. The people on the show itself tell the stories better than I ever could. So I'll try to kind of summarize the stories, what they were about, from who and who told them, whatever. And that's about it, but this first episode was very good. I know the second episode was on Jerry Lawler and Andy Kaufman and that whole storyline. One of the best feuds in wrestling history. That was what episode 2 was on. I forget what episode 3 coming up is going to be on. So this is episode 1. We'll get to episode 2 soon when I watch it and review it. That review should be up within the next week. Episode 3, so on and so forth. So I will be breaking down the show here on the channel. I figured, why not? If I'm watching it, reviewing it. If I'm watching it, why not review it, is my mindset. So let's get right into it. The table consisted of Memphis legends, including Jerry Jarrett, Jeff Jarrett, Dutch Mantel, Jimmy Hart, and Jerry the King Lawler. Quite the strong lineup here. They talk about how back in Memphis, they always had to come up with something new to make fans invested, to want fans to come back. They were running so many shows and doing so many events, and throughout the year, they had to do stuff new all the time and something innovative to make people want to come back, which led to a lot of crazy shit going down. Jimmy Hart recalls being shot in the butt one time when he was being carried to the back, like over someone's shoulder, and the fan got like a blow dart and shot it right in his ass. And he was like bleeding a little bit, and he had to get a tetanus shot right afterwards. So they talk about how wrestlers would beat up fans backstage for shit like that. If they would get out of line, they would be taken backstage, get the shit kicked out of them. I wish it worked that way today, but we would get a lot of lawsuits and people getting canceled and whatnot. So unfortunately, it's not like that anymore. At least back then, they had the excuse of thinking that it was real. That's a bit different. Today, there's no excuse, but still, it was pretty extreme shit even back then. Jimmy Hart recalls being kicked by someone, like, had a cowboy boot, and they stuck their foot out, and they kicked him, like, right in the fucking leg, and he kind of, like, fell over while he was running. Jerry Lawler recalls almost running a fan over in his car. They threw a brick right through the window after he got in his car. Right before he got in his car, Jerry did. He said to the fan, "Don't you even fucking think," not like word for word here, but he was basically like, "Don't even fucking think about it, dude. If you do this, I'm going to run you over." Gets in the car, the fan threw the brick anyway right through his windshield, shattered it. And he was pissed, and he was legit about to run the guy over. He probably would be in jail right now, Jerry Lawler, that is. But the car had its tire slashed, so he couldn't. So they probably saved the guy's career by doing that. Jerry Jarrett talks about getting attacked from behind by Mario Galante. They tell a lot of stories about Mario Galante and the fucking psycho that guy was. He, in return, ripped Mario's eye out, did Jerry Jarrett. He beat him up with a nightstick to kind of save his own life. It was crazy. Galante went after Jerry Lawler one time with a razor. Crazy shit. He got hit by a car by Joe LaRoe or something like that. When Joe was in his car, he literally ran Lawler over, and they showed the footage here, which is also what I like about the show. They still do the reenactments, like the dark reenactments like we saw from Dark Side of the Ring, and they also show actual footage of it from YouTube or whatever. I think they're working, because this is The Rock's show. 7 Bucks Productions did work on the show with the producers of Dark Side of the Ring, so at least with this one, they have the WWE connection, which is cool. But I thought that was a cool spot. He talks about botching a table spot with Joe, and that's why Joe was so pissed at him, which is why he ran him fucking over. Joe is the same guy. They show the footage of him slicing his own arm with an axe. What a fucking psycho. Jimmy Hart tells this story about doing a live promo with the Iron Sheik in front of like a background, like a green screen, whatever. And I think it was Jerry's idea or someone's idea to put in the footage of the Iranian helicopter, I believe, them shooting down like a helicopter in Iran from the U.S. Like it was this big, U.S. incident at the time, and they showed that footage, and the police showed up to prevent people from killing these people because they thought it was real. They were pissed. Jimmy Hart recalls being chased down by a kid whose dad, I think, was in the helicopter, so that was an ordeal. Dutch Mantell recalls wrestling in a prison. Jeff Jarrett in Mantell actually wrestled in front of an orchestra. I thought that was in front of a prison. I don't think it was. But it was in front of an orchestra, and it's the only match that is in the Smithsonian, which is crazy. And the crowd got more into it by the end, too. They showed the footage. It was really fucking cool. Jerry Lawler tells this story about Jackie Fargo getting ribbed and how he was about to be ribbed, but he informed him beforehand. So he and Jackie Fargo ribbed the ribbers, and it did not go well for them. The last story they share here was of a Macho Man getting into a knife fight with some dude at a diner where the guy showed up. He worked there. He was on his day off or had just come into work, whatever, and said, "Hey, I'm getting married." She said yes, or something along those lines. Macho Man, who was already irritated from not getting his meal on time, he was very impatient, I assume, based on what they said here. The waitress ran over to the guy to go congratulate him and whatnot. The whole staff ran over there. He was pissed, so he said, "Who gives a shit?" And the guy gets pissed and said, "I do," or whatever, and they went back and forth, and they literally broke out into a fucking knife fight. Did Savage and this other guy, or the guy brought out a knife first, and Savage retaliated by getting a knife from like one of the tables or whatever. They were fighting on top of the tables in this fucking diner. The cops could not contain Randy Savage. He was bit by a police dog ultimately. Just some crazy shit. The reenactment of it is great, and I'm glad they saved the best story for last. To close it out, they talk about the Memphis legacy and how the shows were always 90 minutes, leaving people always wanting more. And that was it was pretty much it in a nutshell. Again, these are going to be shorter reviews because I'm not getting into the specifics of each story, and there's not like one chronological event that they cover. It's not like they're covering Memphis wrestling from the beginning to end. It's just random stories and quite literally tales from the territory. So very enjoyable, different format, which I like from Dark Side of the Ring. I love Dark Side of the Ring. But if you're going to do something similar, you got to make it different enough to make it worthwhile. And that's what this was. It's not like it was Dark Side of the Ring on stories that would not get featured on Dark Side of the Ring. It wasn't like a poor man's Dark Side of the Ring. It was a very different show, but similar enough to make it entertaining. It took the elements of Dark Side of the Ring and incorporated them into this new format, and I liked it a lot. So, Tales from the Territory, Episode 1 from Season 1, Memphis, where wrestling was real. Great stuff. Looking forward to watching the Jerry Lawler, Andy Kaufman episode that aired this past week on Vice TV. And that review should be up at some point in the near future here on the channel. So be sure to like the video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more daily content, including more reviews of Tales from the Territory here on the channel coming soon. Have a great one, guys. I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.